If you've ever wanted to play Survivor for yourself, Discord Survivor is the way to do it. With inventive twists we'll be discussing from these 5 brilliant orgs. A massive thanks once again to the OrgC community, linked in the description, where these orgs and multiple others reside. On the topic of multiple, the macro idol invented by Storybook allows for dynamics within the game to be completely flipped. Typically in Survivor, the hidden immunity idol is a powerful tool, blocking all votes cast against one individual, but that's the issue. It can only block the votes against one person. This, particularly in conjunction with most idols being public as of recent, has led to a rather stale meta of trying to burn the target's idol while voting for someone else and then splitting the vote when they're completely outnumbered. The macro idol changes this, derived from its definition of a single instruction that expands into a set of instructions. It must be played on 2 people at the same tribal and blocks half of the votes cast against each person rounded up. So in a 4-4-3 split vote, suddenly you can turn the votes into a 2-2-3 advantage. What I personally love about the macro idol is it completely redefines how to play around idols. None of the staples work here, and you have to be creative. But it's still nowhere near broken. Like, if that 8-man majority simply put all their votes onto a member of the minority 3, the macro idol can't save them, but it's still 4-3, making it useful in certain situations and providing power as well as variance to the holder to maneuver themselves into a situation where they can use it to their benefit. Considering most idols are public, I wouldn't be opposed to this being a special merge idol, like in Cagayan, where individuals are told about the idol and its powers that lie somewhere on the island, adding further paranoia. It creates a toss-up of if you split the votes, risking the macro idol, or keep it simple on one person but lose to a regular idol, making it more prediction reliant. Prediction is the motto from the geniuses down the town of Survivor, with the org host very kindly tweaking their ambusher rule into the ambush twist for this video. A twist that, genuinely, could be an entire season's theme. If Survivor ever does themes again. But the ambush twist is the perfect mix between a blessing and a curse. See, in Survivor we've seen many advantages that target a single individual, such as a steal a vote, idol nullifier, reward stealer, knowledge is power, the list goes on. To create a more even playing field where advantages aren't as dependent on luckily finding them, the ambush twist allows a player who had an advantage played against them, who then survives, to receive that advantage in the next round. So in cases like David vs Goliath, where Nick stole Alison's vote, she would then receive a steal a vote the next round. Modern day Survivors seem to want advantage fueled tribals, but greatly harm the time slots of episodes, having to dedicate over 5 minutes to a walk and dilemma. Not to mention, if we take Survivor 42 for example, we technically could have had 5 extra votes being handed out. In episode 1! The ambush twist allows for far less time to be dedicated to advantages, so we get more time with the people we love, and constantly allows advantages to be in the game through an easy to understand twist for the fans. Omar, block your ears, because we have just killed multiple birds with one stone. It also extends into various layers of strategy, where you can vote out the person with the advantage, but if they play it on someone unsuccessfully, they now get it. Or you could go along with the plan, using up the person's advantage, but in the process giving them a big move. However, if you like the thought of power, our next twist might be something you enjoy. An advantage that exists in Survivor is the safety without power, allowing one person to leave tribal council, becoming safe, but obviously they lose their vote. The great minds at Unfairvivor have flipped that dynamic on its head, instead creating the power without safety, which can be best described as going all in a casino. This advantage is hardcore, giving the user 3 extra votes, but 2 are cast against them at the same time. We've seen advantages that, due to the situation, create a risk versus reward scenario, but that's the power without safety in its entirety. Now, the thought of someone being able to cast 4 votes at one tribal may seem daunting, until you realise it can be last played at the final 6, can't be played in conjunction with idols, and still requires the individual to have allies voting alongside them, even at the latest rounds. It's also important to note that the round disadvantage is used also doubles any votes cast against the user by another contestant. The 3 extra votes are also applied at the same tribal. They can't be split amongst tribals, allowing an individual the opportunity to sway a vote close to their side, especially if they're not being voted for themselves. See, if the individual using this advantage is voted for, it's a net positive of 1. Still good, but the exact same as a standard extra vote. Unless we not forget, every vote against the individual is doubled. But good social play and threat management, causing contestants to vote for another person, can allow the holder to capitalise on this more, allowing for alternative outcomes. It really helps the under the radar games, a style we've seen a lot more of as of recent, get that extra resume boost near the end, and allows for the implementation of a tactical but powerful advantage. We started this video with a variation of the idol, and number 4 is yet another addition with the friendship idol from Villainvivor. 2 of the main criticisms of the idol is that it is rather mindless to use. For example, in the late game, you can just play it on yourself with no worries, and secondly, they don't seemingly return to the game. The only actual instance we've seen of an idol returning into an environment after use in a modern day season is in Survivor 42. But it's been a staple since season 39 and before, which I liked as a game twist. While we may never get back to that precedent, the friendship idol somewhat achieves this, while also testing a player's prediction skills. As the name suggests, the friendship idol begins as a standard idol, with one exception: you can't play it for yourself. Instead, you can only play it for another person, and after playing it for the next round, you find a fully powered idol in your bag, which I personally like. Survivor Production have been extremely transparent about their want for contestants to go through a quote-unquote trial for advantages, but especially idols. In Ghost Island, you had to do a somewhat luck-based task. Island of the Idols made sure you knew Sandra's entire existence. We don't talk about Survivor 41 and 42. And beads. While Survivor has gotten better, in my opinion, at making the trials testing key skills more prominently, this really tests a player on their idol skills. Now a player can't just find an idol and play it in the exact same round, but they have to stand up and play it for another person to get their own advantage. It also encourages bigger moves, incentivizing a contestant to save another contestant with their friendship idol, to keep a shield, and get their own idol. But who needs something as old school as an idol when you can have one built into your Parchment? Yes, finally we're talking about the item on the thumbnail. I like to call it the Super Parchment, but it can also be called the Immunity Vote, designed by Intervivor. We've seen twists in the past where representatives from a winning tribe can send an individual to join a losing tribe's tribal council. This was particularly seen in Season 19 Samoa, however other variants have existed. These twists are pretty baseline however, where the winning tribe member spends an evening at a tribe's camp, can chat to the others, and if lucky, are able to spectate their tribal council. While I like the aspect of cross-tribal communication, particularly because Survivor refuses to have swaps, these twists by themselves don't amount to much. That's when the immunity vote comes in. This is a special parchment, purple in colour, that an individual from the opposing tribe can write one name on, but it doesn't add a vote to their tally. It instead makes them immune. The winning tribe selects a representative to go to the other tribe's camp, interact with them for a few hours, then they attend tribal, listen to the questions, and are the last person to vote with their super parchment. I'll also add, even though this should be obvious, this representative can't be voted out. This twist is a known factor for contestants, adding to the chaos as they can convince their spectator to write their name on the parchment, and could force bigger blindsides to outplay the immunity parchment. The spectators themselves also have the decision of trying to stop a vote out by working with the minority, throwing their immunity parchment to aid the majority, and voting for one of them instead, thus gaining favour. Overall, it's a great modern day revision of the two Survivor staples, the voting parchment and the idol, in my opinion. If you want to hear more of my opinions, make sure to like and subscribe, as these videos take a ton of time to create. All the brilliant orgs featured in this video will have their Discord invite links in the description, which you should definitely check out, as well as the Orgsy Discord community server. For some more Bandit, check out this video where we talk about 5 Survivor winners that bombed their final tribal councils. Nonetheless, have a great day. Peace!